this touches on my own family history. All right. And so I'm going to share some information with you all. I want to put this up. My great grandfather, George Washington Jones Sr., he was born enslaved in Coffeeville, Mississippi. And his father's name was Roland Ward Jones. He was a white plantation owner. And his mother was named Liza. One of Roland, Captain Roland's enslaved women. Okay. And he had multiple children by her. Right? Liza. That's going to be my great grandmother. Okay. Now, of their union or connection, George Washington Jones later attended Russ College in Holly Springs, Illinois. And actually, I have a photograph here. I'll let y'all look at these two together. I'm gonna let y'all look at father and son. Somebody type of American family. Look at that. See that? That's my two grandfathers. That's my great grandfather, attorney George Washington Jones, and that's his father right there. Roland Ward Jones, who was a captain in the Confederate Army. Do you hear me? Now look, that's a lot to say. You mean, Uncle D, you mean your great granddaddy was? Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, this is an American story. Okay, I'm just pointing it out to you. All right. Now, George Washington, who was born of the union between Captain Roland Ward Jones, he went to Russ College, which is a HBCU in Mississippi, in Holly Springs, Mississippi. He studied law. He became an attorney, and he eventually became the first African-American county attorney in Kansas. And that story alone proves how deeply and interwoven our bloodlines are with America's history. You got a white slave owner, you got a black enslaved woman, you got a mixed race descendant, Reconstruction education, black law practice, and migration out of the Jim Crow South. And if people want to understand why foundational Black American history can't be separated from American history, they don't have to look any further than my own family. My story runs through slavery, white slave ownership, the Confederacy, Reconstruction, HBCU education, Black migration, Kansas politics, Black law practice, federal court, and Black wealth. That's not a side story. That's an American story. Again, this is it. And in fact, if you want to go a little bit further, Captain Roland Ward Jones, who was my great grandfather, they had a book written about him. You see? In fact, the record says that he fathered several children by enslaved women, so he couldn't get enough. You understand what I'm saying? He clearly couldn't get enough. I see why he wanted to keep them in bondage. Golly. But he had my understanding is that they had 5 children together. You understand? So Roland Ward Jones impregnated my great grandfather, impregnated my great grandmother 5 times. So they had 5 full siblings. So when I say my family descends from both sides of slavery, I mean that literally. I descended from an enslaved Black woman and descended from a rich, wealthy white man who owned her. And that's the hard truth for many foundational Black Americans. Our family trees don't divide neatly into Black history and white history because slavery forced those histories together. Our bloodlines carry the brutality and contradiction of violence and survival and complexity of American life. You see, and Roland Ward wasn't just a plantation owner. After his wife Susan died, the white woman, in childbirth in 1863, he went off to fight for the Confederacy. He was injured in Franklin, Tennessee, and while receiving, he met a woman named Elizabeth Clausen, and the nurse connected 2 love letters that later became the basis of a historical written fiction. So yes, You know, through one side of my family, I have blood tied to a Confederate soldier, a rich white man from, and I believe he was from Scotland or England, rich white landowner. And then on the other side, I'm descended from black people that the same slave system held in bondage. And that's how deep the history goes. Interestingly enough, all of Roland Ward's children, it's my understanding that his white children from his wife died. And so the children that he had, last I heard, were all mixed race of black. Isn't that something? So his progeny all became, you know, all came from that the woman. Now, here's another interesting thing. And since we're talking about George Washington Jones rose out of that system. Okay. So after emancipation, as I said, he went to Russ College. He studied law under a man named Josiah T. Settle, another black attorney. You understand what I'm saying? We talking about 1865. We talking about 1880. This is fresh out of slavery. This is what we're doing. And the thing is, he was admitted to practice law, and he moved to Grenada, Mississippi, and built a successful legal career. And in 1884, he was chosen as a presidential elector, which was a rare honor for a black man in Mississippi during the era. And then came the racial terror. So what happened was, now mind you, this is 1884, so you know, white folks, they want the South back, right? We got to put these black, they're out here being doctors and lawyers and owning land. Bottom line is, after George Washington, after granddad, I'm gonna call him Granddaddy Jones, he represented a black man, a client against a white man, and he won. I want you to understand that. This black man in 1884 took a case in a white court, somebody type all white jury, and he convinced the judge and the jury that his black client was right. Now, the Klan didn't want no part of that. They're like, we got to get him out of here. And so they warned him. They told him to leave Grenada and never return, and he better get out of there in 5 days. But instead of hiding, my great granddaddy, he said that he sent that threat to the local newspaper, and he publicly defended his citizenship, okay, his professional conduct, his taxes, his right to live where he lived. Now, it's very important. You hear what I said, citizenship, because he knew he was always an American. He was born in slavery, and he was still an American. He just wasn't a citizen. So what I'm trying to do, and I actually have the article that he wrote. I wish I had it ready for you all to see it. But he took a newspaper article out, and he said, you know, I paid my taxes. In other words, I'm a citizen, and I've done everything a citizen has to do. I'm going to stay here. You see what I'm saying? And see, that matters, because even back then, they understood the difference between being an American and being a citizen. All right. And this is why this was a black lawyer born enslaved, standing on his American citizenship and the rule of law in Mississippi in 1888 or 1884 at the height of the white resurgency. You understand what I'm saying? But that's America. That's America. And that's our history. Now, eventually, my great-grandfather, you know, he moved to Kansas. He visited Nicodemus, Kansas, where he found black people who owned farms and business. And he was so impressed by the opportunities and the respectful interactions between black and white residents that he moved his whole family there. Graham County, Kansas. He built a commercial law practice. He represented powerful businesses, white and black. He practiced law in state and federal court, and eventually he served 2 terms as Graham County attorney from 1896 to 1900. This is what we were doing back then. Did y'all hear it? And he wasn't the only one. I want you all to understand that when let me take this off the screen so I can get back in close with y'all. I don't want y'all to think I forgot you all with it. But you understand, this is our amazing history. This is what we were doing as black people. This is us. You see? So no immigrant can come to this country and tell me what I can and can't do in my country and what power I do and don't have. And like I said, family, he wasn't the only one. He was not the only one. There's another part of the story. Now, George Washington Jones, my great grandfather, he had children. And one of them in particular I want to tell you about, her name was Pearlie. Okay. Pearlie Jones. This is George Washington Jones' daughter. She married a man named Charles A. Groves in 1906. Charles was the son of Junius Groves. Now, he was one of the wealthiest black men in the United States of America. He's also known as the Potato King. You understand that? I want you to put this together. So you got this powerful, black, influential lawyer who's really good at what he does. His daughter then marries one of the richest black men, or the son of one of the richest black men in America. That's my auntie, Pearlie Jones. You understand? Now, Junius Jones, Groves, the Potato King, he was born enslaved in Kentucky. He came to Kansas with the Exodus, or what they call the Exodusters, in 1879, and he started as a sharecropper. But he built wealth through farmland. He owned about 500 acres, and by 1905, he became known as the as the greatest potato producer in the world. This is, just look it up. Y'all Google Potato King. Okay, this is what we were doing back then. This is us. Somebody type, "This is us." Okay, but what you understand is that marriage connected my family not only to slavery and to law, but also to black land ownership, black entrepreneurship, and black wealth in the West. And that's the full picture in one family line. You see a rich white Confederate planter and an enslaved black woman, a child born into slavery, an HBCU education, a powerful, wealthy black lawyer, a county attorney, a federal court practitioner, a black political leadership, and a marriage connection to one of the richest black agricultural entrepreneurs in America. That's not an immigrant history, you all. That's not recent. That's not recent history. That's not bald history. That's foundational Black American history. And see, my family proves the larger point. We were not standing outside of America watching it happen. We were inside the story from the beginning. We were enslaved by it, but we also built it. We were excluded from the power, but we still entered the courthouse. We were threatened, but we still practiced law. We were pushed out of towns, but we still built new ones. We were denied equality, but we created schools, farms, churches, businesses, political offices, and legal careers anyway. And the bottom line is this: foundational Black Americans aren't merely descendants of slaves. We're descendants of almost every major force that shaped this country. We descended from the enslaved and, in some cases, from the enslavers. We descended from people tied to the Confederacy and people who survived the Confederacy. We're descended from laborers, lawyers, farmers, teachers, ministers, politicians, soldiers, landowners, and business builders. Our names are in the slave records, the court records, the land records, the military records, the college records, the newspapers, the political records. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't tell the story of America without telling the story of foundational Black Americans. Our blood is in the soil. Our labor is in the infrastructure. Our pain is in the slave ledgers. But our victories are in the law books. Our writings are in the libraries. Our ancestors are in the cemeteries. Our legacy is in towns like Nicodemus, Kansas, schools like Russ College, Howard University, Grambling State University, Southern University, Texas Southern University, Prairie View A&M, FAMU. Our wins in the courtrooms. You understand? So our history is not separate from American history. Our history is American history.